Philip Hammond is bullying Brexiteer MPs into supporting Theresa May's Brexit deal with the EU ahead of the meaningful vote next week, claimed Mark Francois. The Tory MP's comments come after the Chancellor warned Tory Brexiteers against voting down Mrs. May's deal next week, saying rejections would lead to a Brexit delay. Speaking on LBC, Mr. Francois told Nigel Farage, "With regards to the Chancellor's comments, I know Philip Hammond very well. I worked for him for 2 years as the Minister of the Ministry of Defence. As we all know, he brightens up every cabinet meeting with his optimistic view of the world and in particular his sense of humour, for which he is world famous. In terms of trying to bully me and my colleagues in the ERG, it is a total waste of time. The reason we have held out so staunchly against the withdrawal agreement is because we read it. As I know you know, it means we do not leave the EU. It leaves us hanging half in and half out. We pay £39 billion to the EU for absolutely nothing in return. In many areas of our law we are still subject to the ultimate authority of the European Court of Justice. There is something called the Joint Committee, which means that unelected civil servants can effectively make law. Then there is of course the notorious backstop, so we understand all this, and I am terribly sorry, Chancellor. But despite your innate charm, I fear we are not going to roll over." Mr. Farage asked. "He is still a Remainer, isn't he?" Brexit News. Mark Francois accused Philip Hammond of bullying ERG members. Image ITV Peston. Getty. "Sorry, Chancellor, but despite your innate charm, I fear we are not going to roll over Mark Francois." Mr. Francois replied, "Of course he is a Remainer, and often people in Parliament, primarily in Treasury, remain central, so of course he is a Remainer. He has always been a Remainer. He is part of that faction in the cabinet." Mr. Hammond warned that if Mrs. May's deal is voted down next week, then it will likely lead to a Brexit delay. The Chancellor told BBC Radio 4's Today programme, "If the Prime Minister's deal does not get approved on Tuesday, then it is likely that the House of Commons will vote to extend the Article 50 procedure to not leave the European Union without a deal, and where we go thereafter is highly uncertain. For those people who are passionate about ensuring that we leave the European Union on time, it surely must be something that they need to think very, very carefully about now, because they run the risk of us moving away from their preferred course of action if we don't get this deal through on Tuesday." Mrs. May is facing a crunch Commons vote on Tuesday when she takes her Brexit deal back to MPs following its overwhelming rejection in January by a majority of 230. The Prime Minister has staked her hopes of getting through the meaningful vote, this time on securing concessions from the EU on the backstop, which has proved the main stumbling block to an agreement. Tory Brexiteers have been demanding legally binding assurances the UK cannot be tied indefinitely to EU rules through the backstop, intended to prevent the return of a hard border on the island of Ireland. The EU told London on Thursday it has less than 48 hours to work on fresh, acceptable ideas to break the deadlock over the Irish backstop. If the UK will bring forward new ideas by the end of the week, Brussels officials said they will work relentlessly over the weekend to take them into consideration.